Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, State Senator Scott Hammond joins us for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Located in the heart of Carson City, the Bank Saloon, a historic watering hole with a modern feel. With a variety of classic cocktails, featuring Nevada spirits, space for private events, conferences, and an incredible atmosphere. The Bank Saloon offers a great location to work and play. Come visit us. Located at the corner of 5th and Carson. We'll save you a drink.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you. But we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
When in Carson City, Nevada Newsmakers records in the conference room at the Bank Saloon. Coverage of the 2021 Nevada legislative session is brought to you by Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. Ahern Rentals is ready for your next project. Liberty Dental Plan, making members shine one smile at a time. And Southwest Specialties creative, distinctive, beautiful.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are always pleased to welcome back to the program State Senator Scott Hammond of District 18. Pleasure to have you back, sir.
It's wonderful to be here and grateful to be on your show. I'm hoping to have a good discussion.
Well, we are too. You're on finance, growth and infrastructure, and education. So let's first of all talk about the amount of money that appears to be coming to Nevada from this latest bailout bill, and what do you think should be done with it?
Well, a lot of people are talking about the $3 billion. In some cases, if you want to talk about $4 billion, because some of that money, $1 billion, is going to go right into some of the municipalities, cities, and whatnot. So we're going to have about $3 billion coming into the state. But I think a lot of people forget how much money has come into the state so far. Over the last year, because of the pandemic, we've seen about $18 billion in one form. $18 billion with a B. $1 billion come into the state in one form or another, whether that's CARES Act money, whether that's money coming into folks who are in the pandemic unemployment insurance or assistance, PUA, whether it be one program or another, went right into the cities or the schools, around $18 billion. We've been tracking that. So we have actually had a lot of money. Now, what do you do with the money? This is money on top of what we generate. And so my worry is that we stick the money into something that is operational, something that is a recurring cost, and something that we will then have to generate afterwards in our economy. And I don't think that that's reasonable. I'm not even sure that's doable at this point, as our economy is trying to get kickstarted. So what you really need to do is put those into a lot of one-shot monies, capital improvement. I think we need to put it into the rainy day fund, at least put back what we took out, maybe a little bit more in case something like this happens again. So I just don't see us, I don't want to see us put it into anything that's operational or, maintenance. And so you really got to put it, you got to be thoughtful and think about how we can stretch the dollars. A lot of projects, a lot of buildings, or a lot of
any projects in mind at the top
bridges.
of your, well, and the other side of that, I was going to ask you to give me some specific projects, but right behind this is now a huge, perhaps as much as $3 trillion infrastructure bill that will be coming down the pike as well. I remember going back a few years, I guess when Jim Gibbons was about to become governor, and NDOT put out a thing that said that we were $6 billion behind on infrastructure projects for roads. And I talked to an advisor to the governor at the time, and he said, you can't put $6 billion into infrastructure in the state of Nevada in one shot, because every single road in the state would be shut down. Nobody will be able to get anywhere because you can't spend that amount of money. Are we looking at a situation where we're going to have more money than we know what to do with at this point?
Well, yeah, I mean, normally, I haven't checked in a long time, but let's say a few years back, I checked to see how much, for every dollar we send to DC, how much we're getting back. And I think it was right around $1 we were sending, and we're getting back about 73 cents. Now you fast forward to today, we're sending $1, and we're probably getting $10, $11, $12, $13 back.
Really?
I mean, I don't know the exact amount, but it's going to be a whole, we've never seen an infuse of money into our state like this. This is going to be incredible. And again, my worry, I think that we have to stick it into a lot of infrastructure, and there's going to be a lot of projects, I suppose, that we can do. I know there's bridges, there's a lot of things we can do, and I can't give you specifics because I don't know it as well. But I know that folks in the construction industry are going to be very happy for many years. But you're right, you can't do it all at one time. And by the way, when we talk about how much we could be putting in, there are a lot of states who are probably very jealous of Nevada. Our infrastructure is not that old. There are a lot of other states who their infrastructure is sorely needed. They need a lot more infusion into their capital, but we're doing all right.
One of the reasons why we were only getting 73 cents for every dollar that we sent to DC was that we were very thrifty, I'll be kind, in terms of doing things that required matching funds. Nevada wasn't putting up that money, so therefore we weren't getting the matching funds, and that was one of the reasons why we were, short in terms of getting back what we were putting in.
And that still is kind of the case right now. We're still looking at trying. We had that special session where we had to show time and time again, and my Senate caucus did a really good job of pointing out how much money we were losing if we cut the budget in healthcare, for example, how much money we were losing in matching funds. And sometimes it's not just $1 for $1, it's sometimes $1 for $3 of federal funds coming in. So you got to be really careful and make sure you get that money coming in.
As you're watching the news reports from the gaming world, it seems like Las Vegas is already back on fire. And I mean in a good way. That there was a 12-hour delay of people going back to Southern California this past weekend. You've got March Madness, hotel room rates are through the roof, and local gaming had recovered long ago. So do you think we're just going to end up with an incredible amount of money that's coming into the pot that perhaps we weren't anticipating quite so quickly?
Yeah, I think that it's going to make a lot of people think, about what damage was done, but to our economy, but how fast we've rebounded, the resiliency of the people, actually, to want to be able to get out there and do the things that they were doing before the pandemic, and then see the economy bounce back. There's going to be, I think you're right, there's going to be a lot more coming into the state, and that puts us in a good spot. But the worry should be, how much money are we spending at the federal level now to get us out of this, and are we being cautious about getting more and more debt at the federal level? So that's always a worry for me.
Well, I mean, the latest reports coming from the New York Times and from the Wall Street Journal are that we're going to see an increase in taxes on the wealthy, of course, but I think the point always has to be made that the wealthy have great accountants that can figure out how not to pay taxes, and it's always the middle class that ends up paying the bill.
Yeah, and I always say to my wife, hey, at least we've been teachers. Most of I got out of teaching a couple years ago, but my wife is a teacher now, and we just don't make a lot of money on that. So I think we'll be all right. Our taxes probably won't go up. But you're right. The people who actually make a lot of money always figure out how to keep that money in their pockets. And then that money will, that money's going to come from somewhere, and that's the worry.
Yes, because you can't keep borrowing.
Trillions of dollars.
Can we even understand what a billion is, and then to fathom what a trillion is?
Yeah, when I told you 18 billion, I still kind of go billion, and then someone says a trillion, and I'm like, I don't even, wow, $1 trillion. And what was it now that we just gave away? Was it 3 trillion or 6 trillion?
This was 3 trillion, and this go around.
The next one was 6 trillion.
Well,
we're talking about infrastructure of a 6 trillion.
Well, it's 3 trillion, but the two together comes to 6 trillion. What's bizarre about this whole thing is, and I'm not an economist, and I don't pretend to be one, but I've watched economics over the years, and it always seemed to be that, at a certain point you were going to have a point of no return where you kept borrowing, and you would have to start paying it back. But with interest rates at near zero, as long as you're not paying back the principal, there really is no penalty.
And to your point about the middle class, what is middle class now? What is the range, I suppose? Because a lot of the stuff that's coming out of DC, the stimulus money that was coming, it was aimed at people. I think that if you're in a certain range, look forward to seeing more taxes. And I'm not talking about a billion, millionaires. You're talking maybe, if you're making $200,000, $250,000 I think is, or $240,000 is usually about what I kept hearing. And you're always on top of the numbers. You can correct me, but I think it was around $240,000. So if you're making that jointly with your wife, your taxes most likely will be going up.
All right, let's take a break. More with Scott Hammond after that great news. After this. As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
Hi, I'm Renee Summerhour, digital news anchor here at 7 at 7. Watch our streaming nonstop newscast immediately with your mobile phone. 7 at 7 is the new way for you to get every bit of local news you need in just 7 minutes. Breaking news, local neighborhood news, weather, and sports are just a click away. Reporters bring you all of what's happening in the Valley. From Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, YouTube, and more. Get every bit of local news you need from the RJ and LVRJ.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
I'm back on Nevada Newsmakers. We continue our conversation with State Senator Scott Hammond of District 18. So we've been talking about how much money is coming into the state, infrastructure, and all the rest. Yeah. But the big concern is already in Nevada, and especially in northern Nevada, I have a lot of clients from my advertising agency who are in the construction field of one kind or another. And the number one need they have is for employees. If we don't do some kind of immigration, and I don't mean citizenship necessarily or any of that, I just mean allowing workers to come here, we don't have the workers to handle a $3 trillion infrastructure bill.
No, and I'll say that there's a couple of other fixes as well that we should be working on. But immigration, it always seems to be the big, the taboo. For me, I look at my generation, Generation X. I read a book not too long ago that talked about the benefits of immigration, and there's been benefits over the year.
Where would we be without immigration? All that would be here would, and a fine group would be Native Americans.
Right? No, absolutely, immigration, and so if you look at my generation, I'm a Gen X. And Gen X, we didn't put the population out. We don't have the population that the baby boomers had, and obviously the millennials who are even larger. That is
the most discreet way I've ever heard that put. Okay, fair enough.
So every time a baby boomer retires, for every I think it's 10 baby boomers that retire, we can only fill about 9 of those. And so it was so important for immigration and so important for people to be able to come into the country and gain access to employment and gain credible access to employment. Really good. I mean, you have to qualify, and it's so important. I think the biggest problem we have is that we don't understand immigration. If you allow people to come in and work, most likely they're going to turn around and go back home if you don't close off the avenues to go back to their place of origin. But so many times we close that off because we get angry about immigration, and now all of a sudden those folks are now here. They can't go back. And so I think that we need to figure that out. There's got to be immigration policy. But one of the things I do, I actually work for the Nevada Contractors Association. And one of the things that we're working on is trying to figure out ways to get skills into some of these folks before they graduate high school. For many years we've talked about everybody going to college. Well, that policy or that mindset really hasn't produced what we thought it should produce. Now, what you have are a lot of people who go to college for a semester or a year, and then they get out and they go, that wasn't for me. I didn't really want to do that. But then they come out and they don't have any appreciable skills. They're not hireable. And so we really need to start getting back into the high schools and having those, what we used to call ag classes, or used to call, shop, wood shop, metal shop, whatever. But there's so much more to offer to students now that they can get certifications, they can get licenses. Matter of fact, I have a bill on this in the legislature this time, trying to make these programs a little more robust. We get money from the federal government, but it's only going to help a certain number of students. We've got to increase that.
Well, there's also a lot of computer jobs. There's a lot of technology involved in construction these days. And
construction and manufacturing.
Right.
I mean, Tesla. I mean, you go to a Tesla factory, and I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
It's
your show, my friend. You're here.
Thank you. You go to a Tesla, and I think people's perceptions, let's say somebody my age might go into a Tesla and think, they have an idea what they're going to see. Some sort of an assembly line and workers grabbing tools and just kind of doing that. It's not the assembly line of the Detroit. It's not at all. I mean, you're going to walk in there, you're going to see a lot of white lab coats, and you're going to see people programming, and you're going to see people. It's completely different. And so but that's still career and technical education. That's still something that you need to teach them, and then it also would require in some cases a lot of people go to work at a Tesla and then or at another construction job, and they realize they need more education. So the mindset now isn't always go to college and get a 4-year degree. It's you have to have some college at some point, but you should be ready to be ready to walk into the job market after high school and get something. But those two things right there those are things that we can accomplish, and we can accomplish rather quickly.
The other thing you're going to see at a Tesla factory and other factories of its kind are robotics. I mean, that's another huge field. By the way, just to go back to your earlier point, as we were talking about immigration and your generation just failing us miserably on providing children,
wait a second, it's not my generation who failed. It was the generation above me that failed to bring the children.
Okay, all right. We're passing blame here. It's a good job, I love you. But you need 16 people working for every person on Social Security and Medicare. If you don't have 16 people working to support those people, then those systems are going to run out of money. So that's another reason why you do need immigration. If the population is not going to grow internally, it has to grow externally. Let's take another break. We'll come back. Lots more to talk about. Not that much time. We'll be right back.
Get in on the action at the Tamarack Casino in March. Win your share of the $75,000 Mad Money giveaways now through March 31st. Plus 5 times points every Friday.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Are you a homeowner who's interested in remodeling or building a home? At Design Outdoor, we can show you how adding natural or manufactured masonry stone can add beauty and value to your home. And we refer only the best contractors. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take an Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
Get in on the action at the Tamarack Casino in March. Win your share of the $75,000 Mad Money giveaways now through March 31st. Plus 5 times points every Friday.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with State Senator Scott Hammond. He's a Republican of District 18. I want to ask you about the innovation zone. Obviously, with all the publicity, it's on pretty much every television station, every radio station, every newspaper, every website. A huge push to carve out a piece of Story County to make this innovation zone. What are your thoughts on it, and especially on the water aspect, where a good portion of the water for the project is going to come from Gerlach, which is about 100 miles from Story County, and would need to go through tribal lands and BLM and all the rest. What are your thoughts on all of this?
Well, just so people know, when we're in session, a lot of times we're sort of in a bubble, right? Because every day it's 6 or 7 bills that I've got to read, pour through, understand. I've got other reports that I'm trying to make sense of that pertain to the bills. I haven't seen a lot of things that a lot of people have read about this. So a lot of what I'm going to say, I didn't even bristle when you mentioned this, because this is going to be a hot topic. It just hasn't yet, because there's really no language yet, and we haven't seen. I mean, we've seen some preliminary. This is what we're thinking about, how this bill might look, but we don't know for sure. So my first instincts, the water. It's definitely, there's 2 issues. The water's an issue, and then the autonomy, the governmental autonomy, right, to be able to do what they want to. Sort of a new age, company town. I think the water issue, quite frankly, could probably be worked out. It's definitely not easy, and I know that a lot of people are going to push back on that. The other part, the political autonomy, I think that's going to be the bigger issue, and there's going to be a lot of major players, playing in this. I think the land, if I'm not mistaken, is actually on land that's owned by. The owner of Tesla. No. The land is owned by Jeff Burns, Blockchains LLC. I'm sorry. Yeah, he owns the land. I'm just saying.
They bought 67. They bought the remaining 67,000 acres.
What I'm saying is that there's some connection with. And you remind me, Tesla is.
Tesla is at the Tahoe Industrial Center.
I'm just trying to remember the name of the gentleman. I can't remember
Elon
his name.
Musk.
Elon Musk. Thank you.
My wife will be after you. It's her hero.
Don't let her get after me, please. So Elon, there's a lot of people who are they're going to be involved in this, and there's going to be some heavy hitters, and I think there's going to be a lot of stuff being said before it's all done.
Apparently, the introduction to what was actually occurring for the Innovation Zone was only presented to Tesla and Google and Switch just a few weeks ago. It's not something that they've known about for months. Mr. Burns has apparently not been, very much.
He's been keeping it back. He's been holding back a little bit.
Well, just had not shared the information, and now they have been briefed on this.
I think there's going to be a lot more information coming out about what was the ultimate goal. Is there ulterior goals? I have no idea.
Well, they want to build a smart city built on blockchain technology,
which nobody disagrees with. I think it's great.
It sounds like a great idea, especially when a private company is looking at funding the initial stages for this and putting up $250 million and then $1 billion beyond that. But the idea that you can take a chunk of an existing county, the last time we saw this was Bullfrog County.
Bullfrog County, which we all know what happened to that Bullfrog, to that county.
But the other part of this is that a tech company or any company that has this kind of money could come into Clark County and put together 50,000 acres, and try to do the same thing. What would Clark County's response to that be? I don't think very happy.
No, and it's problematic, definitely, and because of that particular issue, I think that's probably the more problematic of the two issues. The water issue, we're definitely going to have problems with that. It's not easy to obtain water and to keep it going, and there's problems associated with it, but it's that autonomy piece that really, it's going to bug a lot of people. I tend to wait a little bit. I don't dive into these issues too often until it becomes more of an issue in the legislature, because we're always dealing with a whole lot of other bills and issues. It's like that Zorro movie, right, where he's telling his young apprentice, this is your sphere of influence. Don't worry about anything until it gets in there. That's kind of like my mentality. But, I read a little bit on what's going on, and I appreciate that a lot of people are looking at this issue and trying to figure out how it's going to affect them. But that self-governing piece, I think that's going to be problematic in the end.
All right, we've got about a minute left. How soon should the building be open to the public and to the lobbyists?
How soon should it be open?
Yeah, because we're here at the end of March. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're asking me, tomorrow. The rest of the state is pretty much open with percentages involved, right? And I think that's
50%.
50%. The same thing should be applied to the people's building. This is the people's building, after all. This is the people's work that's going on in the building. They have to have access to it. And I talk about lobbyists, the people, in general public who need to come in and testify. Our building has always been very accessible, and so they need to be in there. They need to be testifying. They need to be talking to us and telling us how they feel about things, having more accessibility. I know that many people will say that this is the most accessible legislative session because of the technology, but there are downsides to that as well. When people are testifying on Zoom, they testify and then we can't ask them follow-up questions. I'm kind of worried that our process, which I love the process because we really vet these bills out with the help of the public, and that's not happening right now.
And that's where we have to leave it. Please come back before the end of the session. It's always great to be with you in person. Thank you. And we'll be right back. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Kenny! Dad? What are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow! This stuff is great! People are gonna love it!
Yes. Yes, they will.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
We'll see you on the next broadcast, coming to you from the Bank Saloon in Carson City. See you then.